All right, good morning, everyone. I'm standing between you and another speaker and then lunch. I know we are running a bit behind, so I'll try and catch up. Uh, Challenge and change. So I was told to kind of talk about the changes happening in the sourcing organization. And I really feel like a baby coming here and talking about challenges and change in sourcing. My background is in more sales and marketing. I started my career with Procter & Gamble and then Samsung, so some of the technology and things which Edge was talking about, I've seen it myself as well, so I can. But what I'm here to do is to challenge the paradigms, because what you're hearing and what Anne was talking about is the slowness of the change which is in the apparel and the sourcing organization. You Google, you search, the top 3 KPIs of any sourcing organization would be cost, quality, and on-time delivery. Am I right? Any other? Those are your top 3 KPIs? Right? Sustainability, yes, that's at the bottom, kind of important, but those are the 3 KPIs. Now let's take a look. Traditionally, chasing cost, right? As euphemistically said, sharpening the pencil. So whenever I get a call, can you sharpen your pencil, as if, and the 10 cents or the 5 cents lower on the FOB. Let's take news, recent news of what's happening in the market. This came out literally last week. Tailored Brands, the maker, owners of Joseph Bank, Men's Warehouse, their shares were literally shredded by the lousy earning reports. 27% decline in terms of the shares, driven by only a 3.7% drop in sales. It's again the expectation which the street had. But the important part, they were shuttering down 233 stores. Okay? Anybody from Tailored Brands here? I hope not. I'm sure they're sourcing at pretty competitive price. We used to supply to them a long time back, to Joseph Bank at least. We don't do anymore. But it's not the pricing which is driving the results. Because there's another brand, Suit Supply, which just opened its store in Hong Kong. How many of you have been to Suit Supply store? Anyone? A few? What's been your experience? Just shout out the words. Great. Unique. It's about the experience, again, which Edge was talking about. It's a company started in 2000. They're up to 200 million euros in 15 years. Last year, when apparel industry was struggling and retail was struggling, they were growing more stores, and they grew 15%. One can argue that cost is really not the driver of the difference in the results, right? But we have been chasing the cost. So my challenge to all the sourcing organization is that the core driver of your business? Should that be the core KPI of the sourcing organization? It is important. It's a price of entry, but is that the key deliverable? That said, the search for low-cost country continues. At least on apparel, it started in US and Europe, came to Asia. China became the manufacturer, Southeast Asia. Now, East Africa, for those of you who've been in the Prime Source Forum, East Africa, Ethiopia is the new frontier. It does offer huge benefits in terms of lower cost of labor, but more importantly, duty-free access through AGOA and EBA into important markets, US, Europe. So we as a TL group have also gone there. And I'm proud to say that our first shirts are kind of online coming out of Ethiopia. So that's interesting, but where next? That is pretty much the end of low-cost sourcing options. We've kind of exhausted that really, there's nothing beyond. Where do you go? Maybe if Trump has his way, we'll go back to US. Low cost. All right, second challenge, chasing quality. Okay, again, quality is important. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that quality is not important, but is quality the most paramount in terms of a sourcing organization? And let me take a quote here about quality, and this is something for me coming in new to TAL. I'll share a story. about a quality of being not an act, but a habit. We do we make apparels, we do boxer shorts as well. And during part of my induction program, I was in our factories. And I'm kidding you not, we had the fabric of the boxer shorts being inspected for smallest defects like slubs and things, which as an average consumer, before I joined TAL, I don't think I'd ever seen my boxer shorts to see if the fabric was perfectly aligned, etc. It needed to fit me well, so a medium should have been a medium, but that's about it. I don't know if any of you are so finicky that you'd be kind of checking, but that is who we are in terms of TL, in terms of quality paramount. And to me, how do you drive a behavior? Because if it is a habit, quality, how do you drive a change? And this is a great example from a country. I'm originally from India, but Singaporean now. So I decided to take this example of how you can drive a behavior or a habit change. It's really about two things. One, having a common understanding of what that quality is, okay, between the vendor and the brand, having a common understanding, and they're driving compliance. Let's see what Singapore has done, and I see parallel to the whole law and how do you kind of drive it. Any Singaporeans here? None? Wow, I'm unique. Okay, here. For those of you, since some of you may have traveled, Singapore, the cost of gasoline is close to $1.80 US a liter. Neighboring country, Malaysia, you can buy the same gasoline for roughly around 80 cents US cents a liter. It's just a highway across. There's a small bridge, 1 kilometer. You can cross over, buy gas at half the price. How do you minimize, how do you prevent that? So Singapore government had this thing of the Singaporean registered cars has to be 3/4 tanks full when you're crossing the border. Very clear, no confusion what that 3/4 tank looks like. There's no ambiguity, it is 3/4, okay? And so that's the common definition of what the quality or what the standard is. And how do they drive compliance? Any guesses? Do they check every single car which is going? What do you think? No. Then, for those of you who've heard about Singapore, it's a fines country, so there's a fine. If you're crossing over and you get inspected and you don't have 3/4, you have a $500 fine and or jail term. Okay? And then, more interestingly and importantly, what they do is, if there is someone who is tampered, and there are people who've even tampered with those and they've caught, if there's any such non-compliance, it makes it to the headlines. And there was one where a pastor was jailed for 2 weeks for tampering the fuel gauge. Okay? Front page headline of a local newspaper, or second page. What does this do? If you're an average driver, you would comply. You would not take the risk. Okay, so that's, again, common understanding of quality and then driving compliance. And that's something which we feel some of our partners are doing. So we, for example, we partner with JCPenney, and we are a platinum supplier, which means much less audits and much less cost and a faster delivery to the end consumer. So again, don't get me wrong, quality is important. How do you get that quality? Is it through inspection or partnership and self-inspection? That is key. And again, it's a behavior. If you ask a BV and again, there are, I'm sure, people who are from the quality. If you ask me if my job is quality, I would go and inspect the fabric of a boxer, but is that relevant? Ask yourself. Third, challenging the on-time delivery mindset. The whole on-time delivery mindset was focused around on-shelf availability because seasons, you want the product on shelf. And again, Anson didn't bribe me, but he did tell me he'll take me to Wanchai or to any dinner he gets invited. So here's a quote from KPMG, from Peter, one of the partners. The shift will be from on-shelf availability to on-demand availability. Let me give you an example from one of my previous companies. Gillette, I'm sure all the men here have used it at some point in their lives. 75% market share, a pretty good place to be. Healthy double-digit profit. It had a high cost of entry barrier for competition. Schick, who was the only competition, had been trying to get in, but it had a close to near market dominance. And one of the core drivers, which the CEO, A.G. Lafley of P&G that time used to drive, was two moments of truth. The first is you have to be available on store when the consumer is buying, on-shelf availability, and the second moment was around their experience when they buy it. Gillette, I don't know again how old the brand is, but forever, at least when I was at P&G, there was companies which tried, Schick which tried, but nobody could come and really make a dent in their market share. Guess where the biggest challenge came from? It didn't come from a traditional brand, but it came from a shaving club, Dollar Shave Club, started by Gen Y or one of the millennials, I don't know, but it started in 2012. It started supplying razor. It took the idea from a printer kind of a model, which was supply the razor for $1, and then replenish the cartridges based on your shaving habit directly to your home. It had a very few simple questions. You would get your cartridges at home, delivered based on the frequency you needed. Now, how many of men here really love to shop and say, oh, you know what? I want to go to the Walmart, to Carrefour, to Welcome and buy my razor and my blade? How many? One. Okay. And how many of you would prefer a cheaper, convenient delivery to your home, delivering the same promise at the time you need it without hassles? Hands up, right? And that's what happened. $0 to $200 million in sales in 4 years. I wish I had that idea. It didn't seem so when I was, okay, 4 years, $0 to $200 million in sales. Unilever recently bought it around 6 months back for $1 billion. And if you think that's end of it, P&G recognized this and jumped into this whole online shaving model. It's very aggressively pursuing it. But then that's not the end. There's another, some of you might have heard, especially those from US, there's another brand called Harry's. And it's doing exactly the same model, delivering a great experience when the consumer needs it, on-demand availability. So what are the changes? I've challenged most of the KPIs, the 3 core KPIs. Sustainability, I totally agree with, and I think that is the core. The consumer is becoming more conscious, more knowledgeable, and they'll demand greater transparency, both in terms of pricing and what they are buying, but also how responsibly is the goods being produced. But let's take a look at key changes which are happening in the industry and what that means. Most of this has been talked by Edge and the other speakers before, but mobile. There's a great visual of someone, I wish I had that visual, which was at an event in 1990s or 2000, people had cameras and taking pictures. And if you take today, it'll be all cell phones taking visuals, right? It's here to stay. It's the power of mobile in your hand. I remember my father telling me, in India there's a saying, like, you have the world in your fist. And when he got his first smartphone, okay, when he got his first smartphone, I still remember he quoted, wow, this is really the world in your hand, right? And that is the power of change, and it is not the young generation or the older, because it's transforming the way you get the information, the way you can shop, the convenience, the connectedness, etc., and it's here to stay, if not get more prevalent. Age of personalization. Who could have ever thought a few years back that you could have a personalized Coke? Wasn't possible. It is now possible. It was feasible. Technology is enabling it. It's becoming lower cost to be able to deliver this. And in fact, Interbrand, which is a big branding agency, calls this era as the age of you, the age of personalization. And 64% of people who were responding in this group saying customization or personalization would be the future. That's absolutely spot on. Data empowerment, everybody knows about it. I don't need to say anything more. Age of experience. I do want to highlight this because this is changing the way, it's not just this is changing retail and will continue changing. Apple changed it the way it came in. For those of you who would have bought smartphones before, the Nokia ones, you had those plastic dummies in the stores to kind of go and see. And Apple came in and changed that experience. It's all about the experience. Do you know which is the most profitable retailer on a per square foot globally today? It's Apple. Okay? Who would have thought in 2000 that a technology company would become not a luxury good, Christoph, sorry, not Louis Vuitton, LVMH, or any of who would have thought 15 years back? But they've changed the experience, and it's being driven. Nespresso, even in apparel and fashion, some of you may have heard of a brand called Trunk Club. Again, 8-year-old company bought by Nordstrom. They've created this club concept where you go in, there are stylists there's free wine and liquor, and it's more about a club experience. It's a social experience. You go in, you interact, it's a friend experience. Yeah, you get measured and you end up buying either a personalized suit or a shirt or off the rack at $200, $300. Again, if I would have asked, would you be paying $300 for a shirt? No, not too many people. But there are lots of people who are paying $300 for a shirt for that experience, which is unique, which is catered to you. The last, again, talked about omni-channel. So there's, again, in our industry, there's Bonobos, which is really redefining this whole, it started as an e-commerce only. Today, they're expanding what they call as guide shops. You can't buy there, but there are physical products you can wear, you can see, you can take your measurement, you can see what fits, but you still can't buy. You have to go online and buy, and it gets delivered the next day. So in these changes, how are we as TL Group? Some of you may know, but we are one of the big manufacturers of garments. Supply 1 in 6 dress shirts to the US market. We are really focused on 5 areas. First, innovation. We call ourselves Innofacturer. In fact, the wrinkle-free shirt, the dress shirt, which we are very famous for, I will tell you that if you're buying a shirt like a Brooks Brothers to whom we supply, you can really, and trust me on this, I was not from this industry, I can say I learned this. You can put it in a laundry machine, take it out immediately, put it in a dryer, wear it, and it comes out like this. I haven't ironed the shirt. And that's where it is what, the innovation to bring that wrinkle-free technology into the market. Co-creation, we have another brand called Chico's. The brand was declining. We were declining with them. Last year, we made a change. Now we have their sourcing, their merchandiser, and the designer come together to us. We co-create the collection. We did that in July. We launched it. The business is up plus 8% in a pretty tough market. Speed to market, we are cutting down our manufacturing lead time. We've already taken 8 days off. We've shaved 8 days off, and we are looking at more. Replenishment solutions, this is something which Fred may refer a bit later, but this is something which we are working on as a value-add services where we have seen a partnership with our clients where we have delivered higher sales, reduced inventory, and improved turns. And lastly, but not the least, the customization. This is still up and coming, but this would be the future where you could literally order your suit, bespoke, or your shirt, and get it in 4 to 5 days delivered at your doorstep. I don't know if I'm running out of time. There's a video. No? Okay, so there's a company video. I'll probably let it play. Yeah. Okay, so just end with the video. It's our 75th anniversary, so we created a video. We'd like to end with that. Thank you.
Okay. Ambrish.